everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Football Focus with Ben and Dan. I'm Ben alongside my partner as always,
Dan.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe to us, like us, follow us, tweet us, email us. All of that information is going to be in the comment section below, but let's get right to it.
Today we're going back to our segment, Realistic Expectations. We started it last episode with the AFC South. This time we're bringing you the AFC North and what each team in that division can expect for their records in the 2014 to 2015 NFL season. We've got some jerseys on the walls, but once again, we forgot, so we're sorry. Ravens fans, Bengals fans, you're with us in heart. Ben, get us started.
Well, we're going to start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that went 8-8 last year. You know, they played the Tennessee Titans in Week 1 last year, and I didn't know what that was that we were watching on. I was watching that game on CBS, and I did not know what was going on. They looked bad, but this year they're coming back, same staff, not a whole lot of changes. The defense got younger. You know, they added Ryan Shazier in the draft. You know, they're going to pair him with Jarvis Jones. Their defense has always been solid. Dick LeBeau, defensive coordinator, you don't have to worry about anything with him. They're going to have a solid defense. They got some rising stars, though. Le'Veon Bell, solid. He's a second-year back. He's coming in. He's going to be good. They're pairing him with LeGarrette Blount, who at every stop it seems like Blount is a solid contributor on offense. He can run the ball. He can get it done for you. They've got Marcus Wheaton, a second-year player who I think is really going to kind of be candidate for a breakout year, possibly. You know, Antonio Brown obviously is going to have another stellar year. And then, you know, they added Lance Moore and a couple of other lesser-named guys. But, you know, the Steelers probably realistically are going to be in that 7-9 to 10-6 range. I really think they'll go about 9-7 and probably somehow squeak into the playoffs as they usually do.
I agree. The AFC North is a tough division. All the teams are fairly even, and it's always tough to have a great record coming out of there. But the Steelers have a good chance. As Ben noted, they're looking up Le'Veon Bell. I expect to become a true stud this year, as well as Antonio Brown, who started to show what he really can do last year. They also, along with Blount, added Dree Archer, an excellent third down type change of pace back to really influence more speed into that team that was unaveragely slow last year. But as Ben noted, 7-9 to 10-6. Probably close to that high range is what you can expect out of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. On to the Baltimore Ravens, it's not too different. Like the Steelers, they kept their same staff. They did bring in a new offensive coordinator, and that's really going to help out the team. Houston Texans' old coach, I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Gary
Kubiak, excuse me. But they brought him in to really help Joe Flacco out and to help out the offense. They also brought in tight end Owen Daniels, who's familiar with his system. Along with Owen Daniels, they added Steve Smith to kind of give them another move the change receivers. They haven't really had one since they lost Anquan Bolin a couple of years ago. On their defense, they went to upgrade it since it was weak last year. They drafted C.J. Mosley, a stud out of Alabama, inside linebacker. They also got Timmy Jernigan, the defensive tackle from Florida State. I expect both of them to contribute heavily in year one. They have a couple of rising players as well. Torrey Smith continues to get better, and second-year safety Matt Elam I expect to improve a lot as well. But similar to the Steelers in that tough ground-and-pound division, I expect the floor for the Ravens at worst to be 7-9, and the ceiling right around 10-6, with most likely fighting for a wild card playoff spot in the 9-7 range.
I agree, and honestly, it's going to hinge on large part about the running game. If they can get that was a horrible disaster last year in the running game between Bernard Pierce and Ray Rice, and now Ray Rice may be in a suspension. We'll have to see kind of if they can get that going, or if they don't get the running game going, they can look more towards their floor rather than their ceiling.
Oh yeah.
Another team that we've got is obviously the Cleveland Browns. The Factory of Sadness comes in for another season of play in Cleveland. I just want Cleveland fans to pull back the reins on the excitement here. They're not as good as people are making them out to be. Johnny Manziel, there's questions there. Let's talk about this. They've got a brand new staff. They brought in Mike Pettin, former defensive coordinator. They brought in Kyle Shanahan to be the offensive coordinator, who I feel like is going to model this offense, and he is modeling this offense. You've heard things in the locker room about it after Johnny Manziel. Got to give them a heads up. They're saying they're committed to Hoyer to start out the year, but then even Pettin said it's not insurmountable. So, you know, they've got questions at the quarterback position. They do have a studly defense. they drafted Justin Gilbert. Everybody forgets that he was taken before Johnny Manziel, but he was really, probably, honestly, a safer pick earlier, and he's going to be a very good addition paired with Joe Hayden.
Oh, yeah.
They've got guys like Paul Kruger, Dante Whitner. They signed Carlos Dansby. Why he went to the Browns, I do not know. But, they've got a lot of questions. Their floor is 4-12. They're not that good. Their ceiling is 8-8. I don't even think that's high. I think it's more realistically 7-9, their ceiling. We've also got an email about the Browns later we're going to talk about later in the show.
Oh, yeah. As Ben noted, the Browns really aren't as good as the hype. They will be better, I predict. I'm a little higher on them than Ben. But the biggest thing holding them back is All-Pro Josh Gordon, most likely not even going to see the field this year, and they do not have anything behind him. When a 5'7" Andrew Hawkins is looking like your number one receiver, that's tough. I've got a couple old guys, Miles Austin, Nate Burleson, going to fill in, but are those guys even going to stay healthy? Whoever takes over at quarterback, it's not going to be easy. Their defense will carry the team, and their defense is going to get them 4 or 5 wins for sure. But that's why we have their floor and their ceiling right where we do.
And I don't think we mentioned they did upgrade their running game too.
They did.
They got Ben Tate from Houston, and then they drafted Terrence West, both a couple of solid contributors. Going to really carry the running game. They went from leading the league in passing attempts last year. They could lead the league in rushing attempts this year.
Oh yeah, I agree for sure. But finally, the last team in the division, the Cincinnati Bengals. They won it last year, had an 11-5 record. Looked pretty powerful the first half of the season. Kind of started to slow down near the end, and then everyone saw what happened in the playoffs. Another egg got dropped by Andy Dalton, and the San Diego Chargers upset them pretty easily. But nonetheless, I expect to see more of what we saw last year from the Cincinnati Bengals. They have a great defense and a solid all-around offense. Dalton is a good quarterback. He's not, in my opinion, right at franchise level, but he's down there below it, close. And of course they have All-Pro A.J. Green, upcoming wide receiver number 2 Marvin Jones. I expect Giovanni Bernard to really take off this year. I was excited for him last year, showed real big flashes, and I expect more this year, along with rookie Jeremy Hill, still out of LSU, the running back. And like I said, they're going to be getting Geno Atkins back on that defensive front. They did lose Johnson to the Buccaneers, but I expect plenty of talent to replace him, as they do still have a good, solid defensive core. That secondary even got an upgrade with the draftee Darquez Dennard out of Michigan State.
They really do have an all-around solid team. I really think they're probably going to win this division again this year. They got to be my favorite at least. Not a big Andy Dalton fan, but when you have A.J. Green who can catch anything thrown within a mile of him, you're going to have a good season with the passing game. I'd like to see him get some more weapons around him. Of course, they've got Marvin Jones, who kind of had a couple of good games last year, with Giovanni Bernard, his second year. We talk about guys taking strides in each year, and I think he's going to have another good year. Like you said, they're just an all-around solid team. They've got guys like Montez Burfict on the defensive side of the football. They're going to be a good team all around.
Oh yeah, and I almost forgot to tell you what this segment's all about, their realistic predictions. I couldn't see the Bengals doing any worse than an 8-8 record, and I expect their ceiling to be right around 12-4, most likely in that 10-6 or an 11-5 repeat.
Oh yeah. Well, we say we get to that email we got today.
Oh yeah, we're right for it. It's coming at us from a guy by the name of Steve out of the St. Louis, Missouri area. Ben, tell us what he asked.
He wants to know who each of us think is going to start at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns this year.
All right.
Week 1 now. Obviously that can change.
I'll get us started. Now, obviously we're early in the year, but I still think it is going to be Hoyer. I like Hoyer. I think he's a very solid quarterback. I liked what I saw out of him last year before he went down, unfortunately, to an ACL injury. Now, that being said, I expect the Browns to go under at some point during the season, and if Hoyer is under center, Manziel will get his game time by the end of the year, but Hoyer I expect to be under center in Week 1.
I expect more of the same. Let me just go on to say that I don't think Hoyer's near as good as, I'm not as high as him on you as you are, but, he's a serviceable guy. He's been around the league. He came up with Bill Belichick, so the guy is not an idiot. He's going to know about, how to read defenses, that kind of thing. He's never really had he had a couple good games last year. Of course, he had Josh Gordon throwing the football too, but when your number one receiver is only 5'7" and $175, I don't know how successful you're going to be. Jordan Cameron's going to get the football a lot this year. I think it's going to be Brian Hoyer starting you out. Of course, I think Johnny Manziel is going to play. There's so much behind that train, but I think Brian Hoyer is the Week 1 starter for the Browns.
Oh yeah, and not to mention another not so talked up note, I'm still not sure how the teammate reaction is with Manziel. A lot of them love him. Some of them haven't quite sounded quite as loving, but Brian Hoyer is a guy that has been on many teams, and every time he's been there, he's been talked about how good of a guy he is and how hard of a worker he is. I think that'll reward him, at least for the short term. Expect him under center in Week 1.
Okay, he gets a lot of respect from his teammates in the locker room.
But anyway, guys, once again, thank you very much for joining us. Make sure, as always, to like us, subscribe to us, tweet us, email us. We want to talk about more of you guys' emails on this show. Thank you once again, Steve, for the email. You can find all that information in the comment section below. Just to get it to you one more time by word of mouth, our email is footballfocusbenanddan@gmail.com. My Twitter handle is @FFBDdan.
And mine is @FFBDBen.
Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great evening.